from one of the more somber moments of my life to just great relief. And I remember looking at my partner Amy and just thinking how relieved we are that we got this woman back.
So I was about 8 months pregnant, and it was my 4th pregnancy, and it just kind of had been a routine pregnancy. And that day I had just done normal things. I remember I went to my kids' elementary school and had volunteered, and I was tired, but I was 8 months pregnant, and just had a regular day, went home, made dinner, did some after dinner family things, and I was getting ready for bed, so I just started brushing my teeth, and I started to feel dizzy, and that happened probably just like a few seconds. I started feeling dizzy, and I kind of turned to my husband and I said, I feel dizzy, and that's the last thing I remember from that night.
I was already up and running to the phone and dialing 911 immediately because she was 8 months pregnant, and obviously having a seizure is a big deal. And then by the time I got back to her and was on the phone with 911, I could tell that she didn't look like she was breathing at all, and so that was very terrifying, very scary to see the person you love most in the world dying. It was interesting to know the theory of CPR and then different to have to do it. And so I found myself latching on to every word the 911 operator was saying and every instruction she was giving me, because I didn't want to do it wrong. It was so important to do it right. So we were doing CPR, and I suddenly heard the door. Someone was slamming on the door. I could hear that they had arrived, but we had locked the door. So I had to leave Becky on the floor, run to the doorway, unlock the door, let them in.
Right away, there's not a lot going through your head at the time, other than your training at that moment. You kind of fall back to those things that you practiced and you learned. And so right away, the first 2 minutes of that cardiac arrest is where a lot of the work happens, as far as getting IV started, getting in a tube put in place, and also starting to think about your first line drugs you're going to start using. So we're looking at the monitor and trying to figure out what rhythm she's in, so how we could best treat that. And I'll be honest with you, I probably can't remember those first 2 to 5 minutes of that call, because the stress level was very high. I believe we shocked her about 5 or 6 times before we actually got her heart to return to a normal rhythm. This played out over close to 25 minutes of doing CPR and multiple cycles of drugs and shocking her heart.
They would do CPR, and it was interesting that they had almost like a rhythm, and they would switch out, taking turns doing CPR on Becky, but they were very efficient at switching between one person doing CPR and the other, which I thought was, I didn't really think that much of it during the event, but as I've thought about it over the years, it's really critical that people get CPR and they get it continuously during these kind of events. It really increases your chance of survival when you do that.
So something that complicated that too was also that she was pregnant. So right away there was concern on both of our parts. Okay, so we got her back, but what problems and challenges are going to be with the baby? Did the baby actually get blood flow, oxygenated blood during that time? One thing I think that made that happen is that we were practicing our CPR and drilling on our CPR months before this, and I think that's what made the big difference for us. We were doing good, constant CPR with her. I think that's what perfused the baby at the time. So the transport there was, I don't remember ever really crying on calls before, but I remember tearing up quite a bit. I was just so thankful. And we got her to the hospital and kind of gave the short report and hand off to the doctor.
And eventually, one of them pulled me aside. Okay, we got her heart started. We're going to take her to the hospital now. And that was a huge relief to know that her heart was beating. But I couldn't help question, you know, what's she going to be like when this is all over? Is my unborn son going to even survive this still? We didn't know what was happening with him, so it was scary.
I remember nothing from the rescue. The only memories I have are things that people have told me, like my husband. So the first thing I remember was waking up in the hospital, and I was no longer pregnant, and my family was there, and I somehow knew that everything was okay, even though I wasn't pregnant and I didn't really know what had happened.
So we were sitting in the ER, and they said that they were going to deliver Ryan. They were going to do an emergency C-section to be able to take care of him and see what his needs were. And I said, of course, absolutely. One of the nurses came out and said, you know, they're done. Your baby's doing fine. He's alive. Your wife's doing fine. And they told me that they were going to take Ryan to another hospital where they had some special equipment to take care of him. And so it was, I got to go be with him for, I don't know, maybe half an hour before they took him to the other hospital. And so here I am sitting in the hospital having to choose which person I care about do I go with. Do I stay with my wife, or do I go with my brand new baby? Ended up, I didn't really have a choice. I had to stay at the hospital with my wife, and I don't know if I would have been able to choose. It was very hard. But I watched them drive away with Ryan.
So yeah, our family would look so different. And at the time, my children were so young. I had an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And then of course, I had my baby. And if it wouldn't have been for Medic 1 and their training, Ryan and I wouldn't have been here. And I can't imagine our family without that. You know, everyone needs their mom. Little kids need their mom, big kids need their mom. So I'm so grateful for the training and all the work and experience they'd put in to learning and to life-saving. Our family was directly benefited from that.
Working as a firefighter paramedic has a lot of challenges because of the fact we don't know what's going to happen from minute to minute, day to day. A lot of times you think those normal routine calls, they can turn into something a lot bigger or more challenging. Right off the bat, the Medic 1 Foundation did something really cool for me. And I went through Harborview as a part-time employee with the expectation I was going to pay for my own training. And the Medic 1 Foundation actually paid for my entire tuition, which was a large gift to me and my family at the time. And then the training that they offer us at Harborview, we have access to doctors that are world-renowned sometimes, or for their specialty that we're getting training through. Access to the Harborview emergency room, and then all the other specialties, Children's Hospital, we spend time there, OBGYN at the University of Washington. And then this is the ride time we get on the Seattle Medic units. Seattle Medic units are phenomenal. From almost day one, we are riding the rigs and getting exposure, hands-on training through our training period. And so by the time we're done, we have, I think I had 600 or 700 IV starts, 40 intubations, and I don't think there's any program in the nation that comes close to those numbers for our training. So.
We didn't know about Medic 1 until they came into our home and saved, my wife and my son. And obviously, having experienced the benefits directly of Medic 1 and the hard training they go through, I am passionate about how important it is that we continue this program. How many families out there are going to have their lives changed or saved because this organization exists? I don't know, but it's a significant population. We have the benefit of a group that is well trained and knows how to save lives in situations where other paramedics would not be able to help them. you never know when you're going to need that expertise. And it's easy to live our lives and think, it won't happen to me. You know, I don't need to donate to that because they don't help me and my family. Well, I obviously thought that too. I mean, we were a young, healthy family. We don't smoke, we don't drink, we don't have any really quote unquote bad habits. And so, you know, I didn't think we would have any serious health issues, but then suddenly my wife's heart stops out of nowhere.
A lot of times you think of an emergency or a medical event like that, and oh, it kind of happens to other people, you know, but you never know when it's going to be you or your family. I for certain never thought I would have a cardiac arrest, a sudden cardiac arrest. So I am grateful for their schooling and their knowledge, and so it's such an important cause, or not even a cause, it's such an important thing to donate to, because you never know when you're going to need their knowledge and expertise.